What up, gamers? I'm Jason, and today on Dice and Dragons, we're back with some special guests. For those of you that have been following the series, I'm sure you know them, but they will be introducing themselves in just a moment. This is another episode of Kickstarter Excess for Value, and we are looking at taking this conversation to the audio format, so keep your eye out on that. I'm just really busy right now, but want to figure out how we can get that done, because we do talk for a while here, so it can pass the time in the car just as well as on video. So we are talking today about Arydia, the Path We Dare Tread, and it is published by Far Off Games, designed by Cody Miller, and developed by Ira Fay. Now, there are a lot of other members of the team, and I'll try to add in some fun stuff in post so that you'll be able to see the illustrators and other people that are working with Far Off Games on this big project. Now, I'm going to toss it over to my guests and let them introduce themselves, and also let them tell you where to find them. But I mean, I think Ryan's already got it all up there for you.
I'm playing around with overlays and becoming an OBS expert of sorts. So, I'm Ryan from the Bridge City Board Gamers and the Card Board Conjecture Podcast. We're housed here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We got Twitch now, right, Rob?
We do, or you Twitch. Do, and I'm there.
And we've been doing Ashes Wednesdays. So day after this recording, we're actually gonna go play some Ashes. And you can follow us on Twitch there. And we also have a second podcast, What You've Been Playing Wednesdays, where you can also listen to Jason and Julie and Rob and Anna Marie and a whole schwackload of other Canadian content creators every Wednesday to just hear about what they've been playing lately.
And if you haven't listened to that podcast episode yet, the most recent one, I think, might be a little Descent Legends of the Dark heavy.
Yes, probably.
As it should. I'm going to play a little bit more of it, then I'm going to be sharing my thoughts. But I think I'm digging it.
Oh, yeah. It's great. It's right.
That's awesome.
Right there. And hey everybody, it's Rob and
Anna Marie
from the Meeple Dungeon, and we're back again with Ryan and Jason here, and couldn't be more excited to do so. You can find us on Twitter and YouTube, and our brand new podcast. We released one episode, of the Meeple Dungeon podcast, and you can find that on all the sites, I believe. It might be missing here or there, but I'm working on that.
We're working on
it. Also, if you want to find out where you can, the direct links, take a look down below in the video description. You will have all of those so you can, get to their social media feeds easily, follow them, and make sure to check out all of their fantastic content. Also, at the end of the video, you can check out our Kickstarter Excess or Value playlist, where we also talk a lot about what we like on Kickstarter, what we dislike on our first appearances. I'll also have links to those two videos down below in the video description. Just a little cleaner than having a card pop up. But suffice it to say, we've got 4 cooperative campaign junkies. And then when Ryan, I said Brian because I said junkies there, but no, you do look like a Brian right now with the hat.
I'm representing Saskatchewan here. All the farm boys.
So Ryan brought up Arydia after we were taking a look at some other big co-op Kickstarters like Wild Descent and Chronicles of Drunagor, and this one dropped and we just had to talk about it. So I will let the master of the pledges take over and guide us through what we have.
I feel like I need to put that on a t-shirt now. The master of pledges. Norm will work up a design for me.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're looking at Arydia here. And how many pledge levels do we got here? We've got, other than there's the thank you pledge, which is your $1 pledge level, which I think I'm sitting in right now. There's
only 2.
Is there? Yeah, and then there's the there's the retailer level. We're not going to really talk about that one. So base game Arydia. Now they got their marketing people out here because they're saying MSRP $240. And you back it on this thing, you're only going to be paying 165 American. So good on you, marketing people, for
And then one thing, because we were talking about how much we like GameFound's interface, at least now on Kickstarter, it does say about 208 Canadian for our Canadian fans out there. So that's a nice improvement.
I appreciate that, where it says about the 208 Canadian. So what are we getting in the base game pledge? It says here, a copy of Arydia, The Paths We Dare Tread, includes all unlocked stretch goals. Please note shipping and any blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we get the stretch goals, the base box, your name printed inside the box. I'm pretty sure that's really important to a lot of people.
Definitely.
And yeah, so now I have to scroll like what seemed like forever to figure out exactly what's all inside this mass. Okay, this is a very ambitious project. Would we, are we like in agreement there?
Yeah.
Like component wise, what we're seeing, all these different factions in their own little boxes that you kind of pull out, and they're dual layered, and
yeah, it's looking awesome. And I think we should change things up just a little bit, Ryan, because we went through what we get with the base game, but as there's only one extra pledge level, why don't we talk about what the other pledge is and what we get?
Sure.
Because it looks like it's only just one expansion, so we're not going to have too much difference between the two pledges.
Yeah. So 165 American gets you the base game pledge, and then what is this, like $25 more?
Yeah.
190 American, you get the base game plus Epic Hunt expansion, Kickstarter exclusive. They're stating that right there, the Epic Hunt expansion. So for $25 extra, like, why would you not?
Yes.
Just throw that last little bit in. No, again, I'm scrolling forever. 240 Canadian. Sorry, that was 240 Canadian is what we'll call it the all in.
Yeah.
Pledge level. And again, I'm scrolling forever. I'm trying to find out where the add-on, if there was any add-ons to this.
I don't think there's add-ons.
No, I don't think now I'm going past this one bit. I don't think there was any add-ons.
No,
it's really very much a straight up
a WYSIWYG
system. So they worked really hard to keep it simple and easy for backers.
Yeah, a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get.
Yeah,
exactly.
Type of pledge level,
which I can appreciate.
Yeah, it's all laid out here. Like, you're gonna scroll on this page forever to try to figure out exactly what you're getting into.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that 165, that 190, and compared to what we're all getting inside of this game. Like dual layered things, tiles are flipping over. There's cards galore.
900 cards, I think.
Yep. There's the tuck boxes, which are going to be used for the save game system. You have actual loot treasure chests, so that when you open a treasure chest for your class, you're going into your class's treasure chest. So there's a lot of stuff that's been designed to really divide each of the different paths. Like they have like the path of light, the path of valor, the path of shadow, which each of them having their own specific tuck boxes and your own character tuck boxes for the board. And what looked really cool was the way that everything is organized in terms of the different tiles. Like when you go into a certain place, you'll take out a big map tile, and there'll be smaller map tiles. Now, I don't know, everyone seems to say it's really easy to access, but part of me is like, I don't know how this is going to be easy. But for a moment right now, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
I agree with it. Like I've watched a couple kind of like playthroughs and how to plays about it and everything. And the first word that came to my mind was fiddly.
Yeah.
Like fiddly. Like when I say fiddly, like I've got little bits here that are tracking these things, and I've got these tiny little tiles that I'm sliding into things, and I'm flipping them over, and then I'm moving my guy around, and there seems to be like a lot of little things to track and whatnot. So fiddly is my word, is my first impression, and I'll go with that. for right now.
When I was looking at it, I definitely see what you're saying with the fiddly. But with that dual layered, like with the dual layered boards, it seemed like everything kind of just slotted in.
Yeah.
And then you had to you could like push it to flip them over, which was nice. You don't have to like wreck the board trying to get them out. But I watched them stack them up. So each player, I guess each faction has like three boards that they play with. And then when you're done for the night, you just pick up one, put it on top, pick up those two, put it on top of the other one, and then you slide it in its individual box.
Yep.
And it looks like they're made to fit.
Yeah, I appreciate I appreciate that.
It does look fiddly. I'm hoping like it almost looks fiddly. If I'm curious how they fit in. I mean, when they showed the video, I'm sure they've done it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it is that easy just to slide them in, because if it is and they are fit like perfectly, dang.
I feel like I feel like they've done their best to mitigate the fiddliness on every level here, as you know, as best they can. I
agree with you, Rob. I really like the storage system. I like the way everything is laid out. What I see in terms of fiddliness, and going with what Ryan's saying, is I think there's just a lot of moving bits, and I'm sure that once you get the game to the table, it's going to be simplified. But one of the reasons I kind of threw out there Descent Legends of the Dark, a lot of that fiddliness is managed by an app. I think Arydia is made for the people that think apps are evil in board game. And if you want to touch Descent and you want to have a really cool experience, and this is probably the game for you, and you should forget about Descent Legends of the Dark and go straight ahead and pick this one up. So I like that, but there's just a lot of stuff going on. And I think that, and when it comes to the combat elements, I think that's where it looks to be the most fiddly, at least in my opinion.
How does the combat work? I don't remember.
So with regards to the combat, you will roll a dice. You're then going to take a look at what your value is, which will then let you execute a pattern. So you might have
that's
two
right.
damages across. You might have diagonal damage, and you'll be working with the other party members to defeat the enemy as soon as possible. So you might be able to do 1 or 2 damage in a specific pattern. You can potentially trigger a crit. If you get a crit, that might be the final hit to the enemy, so you can take them out in one blow. And it looks like each hero has 3 action sequences that they can do, and you spend your action tokens on what you want to do, and then it will be the enemy turn. But you have to draw from the threat deck, which will then tell you what activates based on the threat deck. Maybe all monsters activate. So there's a lot of cards being drawn. Other than that, it does seem fairly simple once you're executing it, but there's a fair bit of iconography. And I guess I don't find the iconography when I'm looking at something like Descent or Imperial Assault and Descent 2nd Edition, because I'm just familiar with it now. I know what it looks like, and Fantasy Flight Games have been using similar iconography for a lot of their games. But it just feels a little overwhelming when I'm looking at this one. And that's coming from me who's played a lot of games and a lot of campaign games.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, that's fair. I think it's fair that all 4 of us here have played a lot of these types of games. And for somebody to say, I need to get over that initial hump of the iconography, it says something. Like my thing about, you nailed it, Jason. My thing about the fiddliness was the many moving parts. That's what I talk about. Not actually physically, like having sausage fingers here, trying to pick up little cubes and stuff like that. That's not fiddly to me. Fiddly is like having to manage a lot of little things. Like we said, that I'm so glad that Descent Legends of the Dark takes care of so many things for me.
It does.
And that after playing a scenario, I can go chill out on the couch with my iPad and then go to and visit the town and buy my stuff and stuff like that. But which is what I've been doing after I just leave it all set up and I go chill out on the couch because I have to decompress after a bit. But I really like this. I like the storage solution here, looks really nifty. I like the fact that this is going to be it's a bigger commitment, like time-wise commitment type game. And I want it to be able to save relatively easily. And I think they're going to be able to manage. I think they're managing that very well, which, hey, There goes a check mark in the pros column.
Yeah. I thought, go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say, I can't think of any game that has the save done better. Having Tainted Grail and looking at Madara, the save for this is excellent. So I love everything they've done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we want to talk about pre-painted miniatures?
Yes,
Right?
we do.
I think we definitely want to get into that. Is there something else we want to cover before we dive into the minis, or is that what everyone's salivating about right now?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I was just looking at here, I think is really cool. And I kind of usually do this on my table, regardless of what I'm playing. But when you're attaching the armor and weapons and boots and stuff to your character, it's much like in Diablo, or something where they actually have a head slot and you put your helmet on the head slot, and you have a tunic and you put that on the torso slot. So you actually have your character kind of built out in front of you, which is kind of how I usually lay my cards out anyway for whatever I'm playing, like Gloomhaven or things like that. But I just like it. It looks really nice on the little player board here, with your sword on one side and another weapon on the other, and something like you got your you can have your gauntlets on each, like different gauntlets on the hand. And yeah, it just looks really cool. I like what they've done with that.
If you like that, Rob, you should really check out Folklore, because it has all the same gear like that, and it lays out on the same way. You don't need to have player sheets. And if you want just the token version, which is fairly easy to find, it's like, I think closer to the $45 or $50 range at some point. Well, I'm thinking in US now, but yeah.
Yeah, I just like the way it looks on the player board looks nice. And I like what I'm seeing on the when you're attacking your enemies, they have like the little hit spots. So like you hit them in the leg and you hit them in the back and stuff. It's kind of like Lords of Hellas that way, where you're tracking where you're actually hitting them. And I think maybe it does different things. Like if you hit him in the leg, maybe it reduces his speed or something like that. But I like the way that looks.
Yeah, there's weak points. So where you hit them and how you hit them will tie into their weak points. And if you can hit the weak point to deal more damage to the enemy.
That's cool. Yeah. That's a lot like Lords of Hellas, but it's not really weak points in that. It's more like you have to hit him with a sword in this area and you have to use a bow to hit him in this area, kind of thing. But yeah, it's the same sort of difference, but yeah, I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, they're taking they're paying a lot of attention to the details here of this adventure that you're going to go on and everything like that, which is another check mark in a pro column for me, is the amount of detail that they're putting into this world and into your character and into the experience. You're going to be immersed in this game. It's immersions that is a topic that we're throwing around in BCB land here recently and everything like that. And I really think that if you get this game, you're going to be immersed in this world.
Yeah. And I definitely think we need to dive into the pre-painted minis, but bringing up immersion, I want to talk about the role-playing aspects of the game, because, and going back to what you were saying, Rob, is that all that little bit of detail, this feels the most that I've seen in terms of also the complexity as to what you're doing, targeting. It feels almost like, I don't know if I can say like almost like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons or Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition, where you could do some of those targeted shots with your weapons. Yeah. It's like that system simplified, and then, well, ideas from it. I mean, you're rolling a D20 and then taken into a board game format and constructed without a dungeon master, but you've got all the maps and everything that you need for this epic story. You even have your world map, so you're journeying across the world map. By the way, Folklore has that too, so just another reason to get you enticed, Rob.
Write that one down, eh? Yep.
So I think that's just it's really cool, and I love what they've done with it. Like all the stuff that I've seen, like dual layer player boards, the way the map works, and we'll just talk about that quickly. You've got, like, as you're venturing, you discover new areas, and then the way that you can either have like the combat map or the adventure map, where you can just walk around town and interact with people, and then maybe there's a dungeon in the underneath the guy's basement, or you find a cave, or you can just go to the adventure side of it, and because you're in combat. I think that's just fantastic. I've never seen anything quite that detailed. And
Yeah.
well, I've enjoyed stuff like Folklore that replicates some of that stuff. Or if you play Journeys in Middle Earth, you have like the battle maps that you'll take out, which are, they populate, they're fun, but they're not necessarily as detailed in terms of what you can do and what you're getting in Arydia. So everything about the RPG, I think they've nailed it right on the head. So let's talk about the role playing before we get to the pre-painted minis, because here's where I think you're going to have a big hit for a lot of people, but I also think something that's going to be a gigantic miss for certain people as well. And that's probably the element that's really got me like on the fence. Like I was watching the video. I think we want to give credit to the Dice Tower video that a really great quick summary that covered all the elements. When it came to the role-playing aspect, I was like, oh, I love this. I don't know if Julie and I can play this because I don't know if she is going to love it and get into it. And she's the one that plays all the big campaign games with me.
So she's got to be on board.
That's important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. You can't replicate that solo.
No, you can't replicate it. So, like, how would you even do that solo? That's an interesting. This is a cooperative game, and I don't know if it can actually be played solo. I didn't even think about that. That's a great point, Ryan.
Yeah,
Well,
you have to have a split personality in order to make it successful. But
there's an actual negative. This game is not playable solo.
No.
do they advertise it as solo?
I thought it said, did it say 1 to 4?
Did
I
it?
thought it did.
I'm trying to figure 1 to 4 players.
Yeah. Well, they also do have a rule book that's going to be coming up soon. So that's one thing I liked. So that I guess you would be able to check out the solo player and how that mode works. I'm sure. Okay, I say I'm sure, but I would hope that that's something they've thought about with with this big of a kind of campaign game, with it being solo. I'm sure they've worked some way out. But I agree, Jason. It's kind of hard to think about how the role playing would work, how they've kind of switched that up for a solo.
Yeah, because it's such a big part of the game. You even get bonuses for it with the RP system, and it's designed to let you, sort of ad lib and be immersed, as Ryan was talking about, and live in the world. And it's also a high price game. And, every cooperative game, let's be honest, is a solo game because you just have to decide how many players you want to control.
Right.
It's
Yes.
Every co-op game can be multi-ended solo. And this is the first time I'm looking at one and I'm like, I don't know how you do that without essentially cheating, because you're looking at the card and you're like, I know the answer. I'm giving myself RP points.
How does this, what is their plan for the RP points? I'm still kind of unclear on that.
So the way it works is you've got different, just stories and backgrounds, and there's a lot of flavor text. But the idea, I guess, just from what, watching the video and reading, is to let someone, role play the character. So if you're going to let's say if all of us are playing, it's my turn, it's a player on the left that would take over. Ryan would be the innkeeper that I am talking to. So Ryan would try to, get into the role of the innkeeper of this town. Yeah. And then there is a role play element. So you're trying to lead me, with all the information you have, to potentially also ask you about a certain thing. It could just be about, what's the strongest whiskey in the bar. And then, you got this fun flavor test, and I'm going to try to take a shot of it and, maybe pass out. I don't know. But if you get me to ask you that question, you get RP points, which is +3 to your next die roll.
Okay. So that's just given out, regardless. If someone reads it, they just get those points, kind of thing.
So, for example, and this is a little bit of a spoiler here, but not really, there's a scenario with a practice dummy in the very first tutorial. And if you're talking to one of the guys on the field, he wants you to ask about the practice dummy.
Yeah.
So if you can lead them there, you'll get RP points if someone asks about the practice dummy. And then on Ryan's turn, it would be you that would, role play then Rob. And then on Anna Marie's turn, you'd be the one that'd be role playing for her. And
right.
Keep it clean, guys. Keep it clean.
So the role player would have a task on the card they're reading saying you need them to ask about the dummy.
Yeah.
But, so you have to,
Is there a time limit? Because,
no time limit. It's free, role play. So I don't know if every card has it. That's something that's not clear, because if every card has it, I think it might be a little bit of a detriment, because, you're always going to be looking for it. But if it's just from time to time or with, important characters, I think it's cool, because you'll want to try to get some really good questions, and it'll motivate people to actually get into character.
Yeah.
That would be
that really takes that immersion right to the next level if when they're incorporating all that. But yeah, you're really only going to get that if you're not playing solo.
Yeah.
Which for
Solo,
me,
it's just not going to work.
Yeah,
It's
which
just
for
not gonna
me,
work.
these types of
They must have
games.
something.
Well, from what we understand,
Yeah.
it's just not going to work solo. But neither of us are RPG people like Dungeons and Dragons style gamers. We just haven't ever got into that. But we do tend to immerse ourselves quite heavily in some games like Gloomhaven and most recently with Descent. And like, I can see us, even the two of us playing and passing that card back and forth. And now she's the barkeeper for me. And then I'm the guard at the gate for her. And we're both like relatively decent at getting into a character like that and reading the card and being kind of evil or whatever. Right. So like, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue for us if we go down this road.
I mean, I can put on like fake accents that are terrible, but
no, but we do it though. We don't just sit there and blankly read the card. Like we get into it to a small degree.
More of a struggle for me to do that, like making stuff up. If I'm like reading and can just change with my voice.
Well, that's the difference. It's role playing.
Yeah.
And it's not reading the card. So you will have to ad lib and, kind of go along with the flavor text. And I've role played like a fair bit. I've kind of hung up my dice, my D20s, and my books have been hung up because of being a dad, and I just don't quite have the time for it. And I wasn't the DM. I wasn't the one investing in creating all these characters, but it's always been a lot of work. And even then, like when you're creating a character, you often want to be in character. And if it's someone that doesn't necessarily flow naturally to you, then you're not having the greatest role-playing experience. And while I think it can work, but with the RP points and that bonus and a lot of ad-libbing, I'm not sure how well it's going to come together for every group. There are nights when I've played games when I've been like, yes, I'm role-playing, I'm exactly in character. There's other nights where I'm looking at someone and I'm like, you are so out of character, like, because you're not into it tonight. Like you want to play, but you're more feeling like playing D&D murder hobo style, where we're just going to go from town to town, kill stuff, and level up.
Yeah. It's just, judging from this, I wouldn't even dream of playing this with anyone else other than the two of us. I think we would just kind of work at it and kind of take it, day by day.
To see if those solo rules could switch over to a 2-player.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be a struggle to try and play this with, just some 4 random gamers would be a major struggle with that. But if we were both kind of, semi getting into it, I think we could work through it and make it work and make it be fun, I think. But I don't know.
Sounds funny.
I don't know.
We could make it work.
Well, I don't know. Like, if I have to be like, if I had to be some character that I really can't connect with, like he was saying, like, it's like, I have to be, I don't know what to say, but like, if you had to be like, a big executioner, right?
Yeah.
It just wouldn't be in your
wheelhouse.
It just wouldn't feel properly. I don't know. So it's a strange thing to think about. I don't know.
I think it's got a lot of potential. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah. Like I'm with Jason too. Like I was a role player too. And ever since starting a family and everything, that world is slowly diminished to non-existent. And so that I do get my experiences now through these types of games, like we said, Gloomhaven, Descent, Imperial Assault, Tainted Grail. That's where I get my thing. And I really like what this one is trying to do. Like, I think I can customize my character better in this game than I probably can in some of those other ones. But I'm going to be playing this solo. Like that's what my world's going to be. My wife isn't really into these types of games, the high fantasy or fantasy worlds and stuff like that. Like she's more of a Euro gamer at heart, where I'm an omni gamer at best. I consume everything that seems to come out lately. So I really enjoy it. I want to see what this is. This might end up being. I want to see what the solo. I want to see what that solo is going to be like.
Yeah.
Because I like Jason. There's a lot of stuff in this game that I really like, and that I can really dig.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks so cool, and I love that they went for that level of adaptation. This is one of the times I'm wondering, why didn't you maybe just go with an app? I get it. Maybe it's just that you don't want to do it, but let's
not open that door.
Yeah, some type of more simplified system would have been just, I think, a little bit more appealing to a broader amount of gamers. And I think this game runs a risk of potentially seeing a lot of backlash from people that don't really know what they're getting into. Julie and I played Fog of Love, and we thought it was pretty fun doing the tutorial. And that game quickly wore out its welcome because we were just like, role playing different characters. And at certain point, it's like you really got to go into the role playing experience. At least with Fog of Love, you got to be in character and make decisions in character, not decisions to try to achieve the objective of the game. Now, it seems like with regards to this, you're not going to necessarily have an objective that's against the rest of your party. You're going to be role playing, but am I going to get sick of role playing? At a 2-player game, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters in a night. Eventually, just going to be the point where I'm just like feeling fairly stale. Like, could we maybe done something with a foreteller app instead? Like, as an option. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's a really cool idea. It's one of the most innovative things I think I've seen in this style of game. But I also think it's the one thing that once you're doing it for a long time, it might just be like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I've had enough for tonight. I'm tired. This game actually used more energy than I thought it would.
Yep. All my accents are now turning into a leprechaun by the end of it.
Well, but hey, if you can do accents like Robin Williams, I mean, I think this will be the best game ever.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's going to be it, is just how much is the role-playing aspect a part of it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because it does say in there that, you'll come into these characters and you have to do it. But how often does that happen? There's a lot. It seems like there are a lot of other aspects of the game that don't necessarily involve it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. Like, if this was heavily based on that, then I would really be questioning it. But
I think it's going to be chunks. Just from watching the video. Sorry to interrupt there, Rob. I think it's going to be like if the video showed them going into an inn and there's like all like 4 or 5 different points of interest, meaning as you're interacting with everyone in an inn, you're going to have like potentially a few different characters. Now, if you're going to one person's house, it'll be one character. Like, this is one thing I saw in the videos, like you go in the house and then, you're in the basement on a quest. That's cool. Like, that's straightforward. So it's all going to depend, as you say, how it actually works in the long term.
Yeah, that was one thing we hadn't talked about. I really like that. It's kind of like that top-down RPG video game thing where like I walk into the house and then boom, I plop down a tile, or I flip over a tile and now I'm physically inside the house, top down type thing. I really liked that. I really liked that part, is the walk in. Legend of Zelda, walk into the cave, you flip it over.
Exactly.
And now you can see what you get to see. That's really cool too.
Oh, the gamification of this in terms of like, and if anyone from Far Off Games says that they weren't inspired by video games, I will say you are lying, because this is so inspired by like
this
SNES,
has Legends of Zelda all over it,
all the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely part of its charm. Like, it looks so cool, and
it just takes me right back to like Link to the Past from Super Nintendo is just what this makes me think of.
Great reference. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it I love everything that's going on here. That RPG thing is just rubbing me up the wrong.
So we always talk excess or value, and I think we're going to get a nice breakdown, a nice summary at the end. That's one of the changes we decided to make to this. But let's talk about the pre-painted miniatures. And I think this is largely the elephant in the room a little bit, because if you're wondering why the game is the price it is, I think it's because of the pre-painted minis.
Over 60 of them. And they're not highly detailed. Like again, this is coming from that group that made Zaya, And all their little spaceships were all pre-painted and kind of wacky colors and stuff. Not high detail, but really nice and bright and weird looking and different shapes and sizes. And I see that here, slightly more detailed compared to the spaceships. But I love the switching of the heads. So you can make a dwarf on, like a dwarf head on a tall archer body kind of thing, and like just make up these weird and wacky kind of combinations that are kind of atypical to the classic fantasy whatevers, So I love that idea. Like, what a neat thing to do.
Yeah. Further enforcing the point of the immersion, and you got the control of creating your character right down to that detail. Like, I get to put the head on this particular body. Like, I'm customizing it there right on the miniature, and it's painted. That's a big deal for me, because I usually don't paint my miniatures. Well, sorry, I don't paint my miniatures unless if I pay somebody to actually do it for me. Like, I really enjoy that. Yeah, that's part of why this cost is a little bit higher than these types of games incur. But man, it might get me right there too.
Oh yeah,
might get me right there too. Now this is always right. This is not a Kickstarter exclusive thing. They're always going to be pre-painted.
Yep.
That's why why they're saying quote unquote MSRP is like $240.
Yeah.
So I think we need to break down that MSRP and that
Sure.
value, because I'm taking a look at Freedom 5 here from the Sentinel Comics game, and not nearly as many miniatures, but just to give you an idea of where we're looking at an increase of cost over an unpainted pledge and a painted version of the pledge. And I'm sure that the amount of minis will have some type of an effect to it. But the non-cosmetic pre-painted bundle for that is about a $30 difference. And I believe you're looking at about 20 or 30 miniatures. So there's probably some savings on economies of scale. I mean, this is also different manufacturers. We can't really know anything, but I'd say that for 60 minis, we're probably looking at anywhere between $50 to $60 of them being pre-painted, and then whatever the actual cost is of those modular heads. And I love what they're doing, because this is really taking that video game and Dungeons and Dragons create your own character aspect and bring it into the game. But I'm going to go out and say it right now. That is pure excess. Like, this does not need in the game. If there was something really cool and funky that they wanted to do with that, you make your own characters, I'd rather see almost something where it would take too much time, but I'd almost rather go online and get like my own 3D printed mini for like $10 sent to me and my character. Like, I'd rather have a website and be like, all right, I'm going to create my character and send me my mini. And then have something that is, a little cheaper, like in the box, and I can choose to go generic or get that custom upgrade, like for a one-off miniature. I think there's just a lot of cool options like that I really don't need this pre-painted switching of the heads, when I can just, I could put Rob's face on a mini if I wanted to, and put him in the game.
That'd
and
be pretty cool.
He could be my companion.
Yeah, I'd be all for that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree, Jason. Being pre-painted, I'd be interested in the people who like these types of games. The painters themselves, what they're saying. I don't know how big of a market that is of the people who actually paint their miniatures. I'm assuming if they're going this route, that they're saying, okay, that market is actually fairly small. And there's a bigger market of people who like to paint, who want to paint their miniatures, but they can't or don't want to. And
Speaking of the penny of miniatures, the one thing I've seen, it all depends on the love of the property and the detail. I think we're going to start seeing like the Sent Legends of the Dark as highly detailed miniatures. I mean, I'm going to pop one up here just to for anyone that hasn't seen it. These are, well, you can't quite see it in the light, but they're a lot more detailed than your standard Fantasy Flight Mini. And I think you're going to see a lot of people painting that. I think with regards to some other games, like I've seen the Power Rangers games, those are not the most detailed minis, but because of nostalgia and the property, people want to paint their Rangers just because it's their thing. Now with these minis, I don't think there's enough detail to get that crowd. So the pre-painting and the deluxeification of it, I think is just going for that immersion feel and saying that like most people wouldn't paint these minis anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So why would they not have the option of like the quote unquote deluxeified pre-painted pledge level and then like a non-painted pledge level? Like I've seen that in quite a few campaigns where they offer that, but then he's like, hey, do you want the all-in pre-painted and everything? Okay, we got a pledge level for you, it's a few more dollars, blah blah, but it, like I'm fine with gray and brown and weird shades of green.
It seems like just because of my experience with the Zaya game that they're trying to set a precedent that our company does this. This is what we do. So every game we're going to put out, it's going to have pretty cool little minis and they're all going to be pre-painted. And I don't know, it worked in the last game. I thought they were really nice for what they were.
So here's the one thing that I will say to that though. Is Zaya a retail success? I think Zaya is an absolute retail flop.
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea.
I've seen Zaya around very, very little. All my big game stores that I know, I've never seen them have multiple copies of Zaya. Like it's just something that I think hit that price point that was too high, pre-painted. I've heard nothing but great things about the game, but it has an MSRP. I have seen it in some stores, but I've literally found it. And for those that don't know, I haven't really talked about this. My job does let me travel around like a few different provinces in Canada. So I do like to poke in at the local game stores. Out of the ones that I used to frequent, there's probably about 10 different ones, fairly lucky like that. I've seen it at one game store.
Yeah, it's nowhere for sure. Yeah.
I had kind of a question about like your comment on the excess, Jason. Because for this part or these minis, I think there were 12 of them, right? With like 24 different heads that you could pop on and off.
Yep.
My question, and just like with this game, because I know with a game like Gloomhaven, throughout the campaign, you're playing like multiple characters. Is that the case in this one too, where you're going to be using like a lot of those actual figures, or are you only going to be sticking like with your main character? Like
that's a good question.
If you're only sticking with one, might be excess, but I guess if you're maybe playing like 4 characters over the campaign, so like I have 4 and you have 4.
Yeah, I don't know.
So the way I've understood it is that you are exiles and your goal is to return home. So essentially, once your exiles return home, that should be the end of your campaign. Now you could take a new head, a new figure, and create a whole new campaign and start over.
But if it's a 40-hour plus, 40
exactly. There's also some legacy elements in the game. They've straight up said it, like there's a card that you're going to mark up. So how much of that campaign is repeatable? I don't know. It's really taking that video game and D&D character customization and trying to put a version of it in the game for immersion, which I understand. I think it's really cool. I think there was a way for them to just offer, a whole different thing, like print your own mini for $12. And here's something that anyone who doesn't care about it could get. Or, we talk a lot about excess. When I'm looking at this colorful world and we're talking about new standees looking cool, like I'd be totally fine with a awesome acrylic standee version or just some beautiful art standees, because that might even suck me more into the world because they're not just bases. We could have some cool art and other stuff in the background. But that's just me. I'm looking at different ways that this could have been presented, but I get it. It's, as you're saying, Rob, this is what their company does. So that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just looked at the FAQ. There was an actual question in the FAQ says, can I get unpainted miniatures?
Yeah.
And it says, we designed Arydia from the ground up with pre-painted miniatures in mind. It's not something we tacked on at the end of development. We've been working on for years with our manufacturer on making crisp, clear designs that fully integrate into Arydia's aesthetic. So it's always been in mind. So like you said, this is part of their mantra. This is who they are. This is what they're going to strive to do from here on out.
Yeah, and they're like the clothing on the figures. I think will match the art on the cards and on the cardboard tokens that you slot into your thing.
Yeah,
So it's going to be
path.
the immersion is going to be huge.
So essentially what you're doing is you're picking your head. So it's like, taking your character in Destiny and you've got like a few different heads you can pick. So you pick your head, you pick your path, and you stick the head on your path, and that's your character for this campaign.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like I said, I like it. I like what you're getting, but I got to call it out as excess. It's something that isn't needed. And I think they might have been better suited, especially if they wanted to make this a retail release, to do something completely different for that retail success.
Yeah, because they're obviously going to take this to retail if they have a retailer's level. So they're going to get it in there.
Look at Gloomhaven. I mean, Gloomhaven, you can argue, is found its niche, like it's carved its own space, but it's almost half the price of what this is going to be at retail. And Frosthaven was a smash success because what did they do before Frosthaven? They put out Jaws of the Lion. They said, hey, everyone, check out our system. And then everyone's like, oh my God, I've been sleeping on this thing. And how much money did they make with Frosthaven?
Oh,
yeah.
It just goes to show you.
Yeah.
What Isaac's doing there in Cephalofair Games, like what he is able to make and produce at the price point that he wants for his game is out of this world.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's an interesting point, Jason. Like, what if they did have a little, I don't even know what a mini Arydia would look like kind of like a Jaws of the Lion. If they had like a little Arydia game that was, I don't know, 5 to 10 hour campaign, maybe a little replayable, lots of little different characters, would you get them hooked?
You might.
Into this?
You might.
I think you would, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I want this game. Like, not gonna lie, I want this game. But there's a lot that's the moment I see that price point, I'm like, do I need this game? Julie and I were talking. I was like, I think I've got 10, because I have all of Descent second edition, including the co-op campaigns. You guys will figure out the way to play those co-op. Thank you, Red Jack. So, just a little plug to a hardworking game designer that actually turned all of those one versus many campaigns into co-op campaigns. Like, I got like 10 Descent campaigns to play, plus like another one in the app. Like, I could be playing that for years.
Yeah.
So, and I love the game. I love campaign games. I don't know if I'll ever finish them all, but that's the plan. But I want to get a taste of this before I go and say, I'm going to take this out, and I've got Madara. I'm going to knock Madara over for a bit and take this on. Well, I haven't finished Tainted Grail. Is this going to like keep me from getting back to Tainted Grail? Like, I'm not sure. That there's a few elements that I think will keep me away from it, but there's other elements that I'm like, man, I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to be hooked on this like I was 13 years old playing Final Fantasy or playing Dragon Age when I had to get to the end of the damn story and I really need to know what happens. I know, I can, where's that cute girl that I met in the town that I'll have to keep coming back to if they put like, that level of immersion? Like,
There's a simple answer to all our problems here is that we'll back the game and then you guys come to BC and then we play it here for a week straight. And then
a week of vacation we'll take off and we'll play.
Exactly.
Yep. I can see this conversation going over very smoothly with my wife.
just leave a few details out of
but by the way, I'm all in on that idea.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's the best way because we'll definitely role play at that point.
Oh yeah.
So if you know you're going to play this with some buddies and everything like that, and you guys all chip in,
absolutely,
whatever, you split it 3 ways, split it 4 ways, decide whose house it's going to stay at. Sure, you're going to get some value out of this experience. Like, I'm with Jason. I want this game, but
absolutely.
I have to justify it in my brain, just like he is with all of the other campaign games. Like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be done Descent Legends probably within the next like month or so. Like I'm fairly certain on that. I'm hooked.
Oh, yeah.
So if this game has the hook, like
Yeah.
And it looks like it does.
You can sit down and just play the crap out of it.
I think this game for me it looks inviting in the sense that it's very bright. Like the boards
Warm,
are
bright,
and
like the Shire and Lord of the Rings, you know?
like typically it's dungeon crawls, right? Where you're everything's dark and that's fine. That is what it is. It's just that is what it is. And so for this one to have it like light and bright and it's more of a journey to, like you were saying, I forgot I had read that, Jason. I forgot about it, but you're exiled and you're trying to get back, right? So it's like a redemption almost story trying to get back in there. And I don't know, it just
much more
the aesthetics there were really pleasing.
Fantasy adventure rather than fantasy crawl through the mud and spikes and lava.
As you said, there's a lot of value, and the value that I think we should discuss. And if anyone wants to add anything, like definitely add it on, because I want to make sure. And then we'll go over our our excess or value summary. I think we've got like just the art, the presentation, the components. Not talking about the miniatures where we've pretty much labeled them as excess, but the dual layer player boards, how they actually have a function in the game, the talk boxes, your flute specific stuff, like everything is so well organized that the components are awesome. And I think there's a lot of value that they're bringing with this bright, inviting world. As you're saying, I think it's saying, hey, come sit down at the table. There's still that dark, dungeon aspect, but it feels more like a traditional RPG, like a video game RPG where, it's bright and sunny one day. And then next, it's dark and you've stepped through the teleporter and you're now in the dark world. And you're like, what's happened to Hyrule?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, totally. It's exactly the way it feels.
And I think that's just absolutely fantastic. And they've delivered a lot of value. And the whole system around immersion, I think, has the chance to deliver a ton of value. But I also think that it's one of those things where I got to just put the question mark, because I just don't know how effective it's going to be because of the different situations that are going to come up in the game.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah,
you nailed it with the components. Components wise, this game is outstanding. You're going to get the value on that. The way it's laid out, the presentation, the storage, just the way how they thought about how you save up the game, the sheer amount of content, like they're boasting this as a 40+ hour campaign-ish.
Yep.
I think that's not small. Like when they say 40 hours, for me, it's probably going to be like 60.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to adventure around. I'm going to see what this world has to offer. That's what I usually do. And then that's why I probably never get back to these games, because I'm just fooling around. I'm fooling around too much. Just want to get that extra last little bit of immersion out of there. I'm really enjoying it. I'm probably on the fence whether or not this is excess or value. I think it might be on the little high end of a price point, but I guess I can justify that too, because there is a lot of stuff.
Oh, for sure.
That they have to produce into this game. So the price point seems pretty bang on. I don't know if it's value, but I think it is fair.
Especially you got on top of those minis and the boards. What was it, like 900 cards we said at the beginning?
900.
That's a lot of cards too. It's a lot. I agree completely. You are getting a lot of stuff. It almost, when I was first looking at this, I was like, "Ooh, this looks a little daunting," because there are all these boards and all these pieces and everything. And but then as you like read through it, and you're getting a lot. And I think that it all works kind of well. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of value, but I feel it still is kind of falls right in the middle, where the excess and the value, or the value kind of balance out, and it makes it just a fair game, like Ryan said, just fair price, maybe a tad high, but
it's
fairly
one of
fair.
The games. I think you're paying a lot for the design, and this industry, a lot of designers were not paid nearly enough for their work. So I don't mind paying a little extra for a smaller company like Far Off Games that put in the work and is delivering such an awesome product. I think at a certain point we have to ask ourselves, because one of the reasons why games are going up in price, and there's been some interesting discussion about that recently, is just how many copies are we actually going to sell? I think gaming does not have enough economies of scale. Now, that being said, if you've been following what's going on, everyone's probably wondering why Wingspan isn't like $20, since apparently it's sold like 1 billion copies.
Yeah.
And is the hottest game like since Monopoly. So, you know, but it does have a lot nicer components. So, well, I guess it makes sense.
Yep, absolutely. So, we didn't really touch on the Epic Hunt expansion at all, and it just seems like that. No, I scrolled past it again. It seems like you're just getting another character.
Yeah.
That you can play into the little.
It's a boss fight. It looks like.
Is it a boss fight? Is he a playable character, or is he?
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah.
No, it's a boss. It says under the card, if you look at the Epic Hunt, it says boss.
Oh, I thought it was.
I thought I read about it as a
I can't find it.
This mini expansion includes 1 pre-painted miniature, 20 cards, and an alternate set of certain skills available from the start of the campaign. And yes, the card right there does say he is a boss, like a sellsword mini expansion from the first Zaya campaign. Epic Hunt is a Kickstarter exclusive.
So does he only come out like once?
I guess.
Like, I think that's why they're giving you the alternate cards. I mean, if you're looking at what the price is, it's, you know, $20 for a pre-painted mini, which is, you know, pretty fair.
Yeah, it looks like here too. Some of the cards are like those job board cards, so it looks like it's kind of like a little mini side quest you can go on, and he's probably the very end of that side quest. Everything, it's just looking like this. Looks like it looks like it's a side quest that'll pop up once you are able to do side quests, I guess.
They did say to. Oh, go ahead.
I think it's fair value, but to keep like the Kickstarter access or value, I think it's just it's something it's okay. If it wasn't a Kickstarter exclusive, I wouldn't even consider picking it up. I would just get it later on. I don't think it's necessary.
No, FOMO.
It's funny, their quote on here says that this mini expansion is completely unnecessary, so please don't feel any need to get it.
Yeah. But they
really?
It says that right here.
Yeah. But they also said too that this one won't be available again, but they will probably put it out for purchase through like on another campaign, but painted differently, like as a different color. So if you don't get this like green one and maybe you see how it plays or what people have to say about it, you can get it, you know, a little later on. Not that you'd want to get it later on if you're just wanting to add it into your play.
Because it does say we will never offer this version again, but they might have a different version of this.
We may offer it with a different color.
Malibu Stacy with another hat.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
I think we've had a great conversation about this, and we've covered everything about the game. Now, there's one thing that we got to talk about, which is the elephant in the room. And I will give Far Off Games for credit for saying that this is the estimated shipping cost. Although we were talking about this a little bit before, but I mean, they're saying it's $20. First and foremost, hopefully shipping will have gone down, but I mean,
I don't think so.
We're talking 2022. If this was going to deliver in 2023, I think it actually would be going down. And I got to say, as someone that has to deal with shipping, like I appreciate Far Off Games trying to say they're giving a subsidy. I don't believe it. Like that's marketing. Like the cost is somewhere else in this game. And like, so either they're getting that money back. They're not just losing $20 in every game, because we've got 4,000 backers or 5,000 backers almost. So let's do the math here at 5,000 backers times 20. That means for a small company like Far Off Games, they're eating $100,000. Like, no way. Get out of here. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
no chance.
Nice try, marketing team, but I smell through that that BS. Like it's not in there unless what they're planning to do is gouge people at retail, hence the $240 MSRP. Like maybe it's Kickstarter backers are saving some of that money somehow, but there's no way that this subsidy is not coming back to the company.
Yeah.
They're not Asmodee, like they're not, even Awakened Realms and companies like that can afford to take $100,000 hit. Like that's a huge amount of money.
I thought it was interesting too that continental US and Canada had the same estimated shipping cost. Everybody knows that it costs more to get it into here.
Yeah.
It always is. It's always more.
I was like, what? We're getting the same shipping?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
And for all we know, that's estimated shipping cost. So it could also be $45
Yeah.
or $50 at time of shipping, right? It's only an estimate with a subsidy. Like,
Yeah.
like don't even do it. Like, either give me a fixed shipping cost with like a subsidy and say, hey, we're subsidizing like, your cost in retail copies. Okay, I get it. You're actually doing that. Sucks for retail backers, but good for me. But I hate the way this is done. Like it really irritates me because I actually know how this stuff works. So like, I mean, I subsidize shipping for the products that I sell, but we're still making money. So that cost is accrued someplace else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shipping
Kudos,
is
marketing people.
Yeah.
Kudos, you fooled all the morons that didn't watch Kickstarter Excess or Value.
That's right.
So yeah, that's the only thing I absolutely despise about this campaign. It really irks me, but I guess it's because when I'm looking at Kickstarters or anything of any type of crowdfunding, I really like it when things are on the up and up. I've been burned with too many things where it just wasn't well handled. I mean, just going back to like my most hated Kickstarter of all time. Well, this a little bit, maybe not my most hated, but one of my worst. I will one day talk about my 10 worst Kickstarter campaign experiences as Onimaru, where we were promised a sample in September of 2019, and it's still not here. We're almost September of 2021, 2 years later for a production sample. Yeah, this is not that level bad, but it still irks me.
No.
No. I'm fully confident that the people are going to get this game, and they do say December 2022, so you may as well just say 2023.
Yes.
Everything's always
Q1 or Q2. Yeah.
Yeah.
2023.
So it is possible that we'll have better shipping, but I get a feeling that now that companies got a taste of what they can charge, it's not going back down. Maybe from the exorbitant rates of $20,000 a container to like 10, but I think there's going to be a permanent cost increase for a long time.
Yep.
Oh,
No,
that's
they're
such
not
a
going to
pain.
just give that up. Like once they've seen that people still pay those prices regardless.
that's the kicker. Is people will still pay it like gasoline.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
like in the NHL where they added the marketing to the helmets, and now next year they're adding marketing to the sweaters.
And keeping them
Wow.
on the helmets.
Yeah.
They're not getting rid of it.
No, it's going nowhere. Now that it's been allowed and in there, they're not throwing that money away, right?
They're going to look like the ridiculous billboards that we see the European
happening.
teams look like that I
European, yeah.
absolutely hate.
Yeah,
And good thing I have my jerseys. I'll just never buy another jersey. You sell
exactly.
Or if you're gonna put that stuff on your helmets, maybe charge way less for people to go to the games.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's just Vancouver, but like, oh my gosh, it costs a lot to go to a game.
Oh,
It's ridiculous.
completely off topic.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
point out, no, I love it. No, I love it because we're talking about excess or value. I'll agree. Like getting a decent ticket to see the Canadians is like ridiculously hard. So just a little hint that works well. At least if you're in Montreal, go after the first period has started or is about to start, and the scalpers will be getting rid of tickets. We managed to get tickets 3 rows up from the glass for $70 each.
Whoa! All right.
Yeah, they were about to start the first period, so I managed to get those tickets. The guy's like, "These are worth a lot." I'm like, "Do you want to sell them or not?" He's like, "Fine, take them." Like, threw them at me. So
Awesome.
that's just a way to deal with some scalpers. And the reason why baseball is the US's favorite game because it costs a lot less to go, and they've actually have good food in the stand. So people actually spend a lot more money there, but it costs us to get you in the door. You can spend like a whole like afternoon in the park because there's like shops, there's decent food, decent beer, and you can actually have a conversation while you're watching, baseball, because it's not as fast paced as hockey. So it works, but you can go to a game for $30, or at least you could. Last time I went.
That's not happening here. No.
Nope. We just got the Rough Riders.
That's all you
In
need.
Saskatchewan.
That's all you need.
And I got to drive 2.5 hours to go see them.
The Rider Pride.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't we give a nice summary of our Kickstarter excess or value points? So if I miss anything, feel free to jump in. And if there's anything that you disagree with, let me know. So I think that in terms of excess, we have said that the painted miniatures, they are definitely excessive. There's some other options that they could have chosen, and there's definitely will work for the world and what they're trying to deliver, but it's definitely something that isn't necessarily needed in this type of game. For value, we've got the components, the storage, and just the entire concept of like the world, the box, and how everything interacts together. Very few systems I've seen that have been designed to have such a neat and clean table presence, and it'll be so easy to use if it actually works as presented in a lot of these Kickstarter previews. And then the other thing that we're seeing for value is just, the immersion and the attempt to bring you into this world of Arydia, get you into your characters, make this feel like the full-blown RPG experience, but something that you just pull out of a box, and when you're done, put back into a box. Now, the big question is if that immersion is going to work well with the RP system, or if, we'll be adapting those solo rules for 2 players, as Anna Marie was talking about. So immersion is definitely on the value side, but there's a little bit of a question mark as to if it could also be a hindrance to the game for some groups.
Yeah, you're bang on.
Summed it up.
Bang on.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right. So after this conversation, where does everyone stand? I'll let Ryan take it away. Did you back the game? Has your pledge finger twitched on you?
It did twitch. As we kept saying about it, I'm in.
Are you going?
Okay. No. Okay. Do I go back to the one? Because that's solo. It's the solo mode. I want this game so bad. I want it so bad.
So that I think, Ryan, I know you want that game, and it's still going for a while here, right? Like
it does. What do we say? What is it saying here? 13 days.
Yeah. And they, like I said, they did say they were putting up a rule book. So they should have in that rule book the solo play. I can't see them putting out a game like this and not having thought through the solo. Like, I think that would have been just a huge miss.
Yeah.
But there's a good chance that it may not work as well in the experience. It's like there's been some great solo modes, and I've had solo modes that really feel tacked on. And other times where, people are like, oh, did you play solo? And it's like, why play solo? Just play multi-handed. Like, it's just so much easier. So that just really is the question, I think.
You definitely have the solo experience on me. I don't have that much.
Okay. I'm sticking with the thank you pledge, the $1 pledge. Because at least if I have $1 pledge here, it still says that I get my name printed inside the box. I mean, for actually physically
that's worth $1.
But that's worth $1. $2 Canadian. $2 Canadian.
That's
okay.
awesome.
I'm gonna stick with the $1 pledge level. I need to see that, but I really do see myself on the last day probably just saying, let's just take it.
And just a little bit behind the scenes for everyone, this is probably going to be dropping in the next 5 to 7 days. So probably when you're seeing this, it's probably going to be about a week left on this campaign.
Ryan will probably have backed it by then.
Guilty. Guilty as charged. There's so many good, like we like I can see past the little things that we said that were excess and whatnot. I'll probably have a couple, maybe one of my other campaign games finished by the time this one rolls around.
Yeah.
And I can get to it.
Oh yeah.
I'll have a couple of years, Jason, to get rid of some games to put this one on the shelf.
Yeah.
There you go.
As far as we're concerned, I'm so on the fence. I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
I've had my eyes opened because I had kind of been uninterested in this one of my brief look at it like a week ago or whatever. I looked at it, but over the last couple of days, what I've seen has really impressed me, and I would 100% back it if I wasn't so unsure of how this RPG thing is going to work.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna look more into that part of it first, because I'm drawn. I loved, like I said, I love the color scheme, how bright it is, and I think you are getting a lot for what you're paying. So I think that but I want to make sure that I'm going to enjoy it as well. So
yes.
I'm gonna look more into the RPG part of it. And
so we're gonna join in on that $1
sorry, I don't like to be that
level and get our name on the box at the very least. But
Yes.
but I really, really, really want to. So I'm just gonna hold on and just see if there's a little bit more info, or watch maybe a few more videos.
Yeah.
Maybe some people out there kind of doing it back and forth might help. I'm not sure.
One Stop Co-op Shop does have some long videos, but there are some spoilers, so I don't know if you want to watch the whole thing.
I might be able to poke my head in
Probably.
and just see a little bit.
Yeah, maybe try to scroll through and just find like a section where there's like 3 or 4 RP sequences back to back and how they did it.
Yeah, I might do that, and that might sway me one way or the other.
That's why I was steering clear of the videos on this one, because a lot of them said, okay, there are some spoilers. I'm like, I don't want spoilers. So I didn't watch them.
Yeah,
I know exactly how
have,
you.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was gonna say too bad they didn't have like those if you could just have like one-off scenarios or like random things, but we're asking way too much at that point.
Yeah.
This is becoming a $300 game now.
Yeah,
If you're starting to ask for one-off scenarios or random encounters.
Yeah. So we're at the $1 for now, but really close to pushing one of the other two for sure.
I got to take a look at more videos myself, because the RP system is really what's going to seal the deal. I'm in for $1. I can see myself. I have a group. I have friends that I would love to play this with. Now the question is, can I get the commitment? So I have definitely 2 options to get this to the table. That's me and Julie playing it, or me and a bunch of friends playing it. And I don't know which is more realistic. I don't know how much money I want to put up if I'm playing it with just my friends. And well, I guess there are those 2 extra characters. So depending on how the replayability is, I mean, I could play 4 characters with a group, and then, Julie and I could play through the other 2 paths, which would be kind of cool. But I got to see more. I got to know if this is the kind of thing where I might just at one point be like, I'm just done role playing and not want to play this, because that'd be the worst thing, especially with a game that has some legacy components, because resale, and that I think is something we need to talk about when we discuss value, is going to be a lot harder if you started ticking off some boxes and you got to try to reorganize something to make sure that it's in sellable condition if you just get bored of it.
Yeah.
That's the very last thing at the very bottom of the page. It says the long-lasting design. Arydia is a green legacy board game. It's a legacy game, style game, but you never destroy components, and all changes to the game can be reset once you've completed the campaign. That's interesting, because you did mention that there is the checking off on cards. So is it like, is it just like a dry? Is it just a dry erase marker on a card? Like
it looked,
these other games.
From what I saw, it looked like it was like an actual card with a check, but maybe you can just decide to print those instead of checking the card off.
Yeah.
It says you don't need to throw Arydia out when you're finished. You can keep it to play it again or pass it on. I don't think I'm just passing this on if I've spent $200 and I'm just going to pass this on to somebody else.
Love you, but not that much, right?
So there you have it. Our thoughts on Arydia, the paths we dare tread. So we're all waiting for a little bit more information on the game, but it's got all the pledge fingers itchy right now. I mean, if I sold a few more games, like this guy back here. Oh. I'm trying to duck. There it is. If we could get that out the door, I think that this one might just be the thing that I would replace it with. Heard some mixed things about Etherfields. I really want to play it, but I just have other Awakened Realm stuff to play, which is, right there. So yeah, I'm interested, but still got to do a little bit more research. And this is probably one that's not going to get pledged during the campaign. This is most likely going to be a pledge manager pledge. I'm going to draw this one out as long as possible.
Yeah, because we got ISS Vanguard that's going to get delivered before this does.
Oh, and I just got wave 2 of Infinity Defiance. I've got metal miniatures to assemble. While the Scent is shipping finally, and as for those that have been following this, that is coming in and that is going right out the door. Thank you, Chronicles of Drunagor. I need something to pay for you. You're expensive. Just lots of good stuff to play, and Descent Legends of the Dark. And yeah, I think that's what's going to be taking up the table for a long time, at least in terms of that campaign game spot.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so I will let our guests tell you once again where to find them as we get out of here.
Sure. Yeah, I've been Ryan of the Card Board Conjecture Podcast. Our podcast comes every Saturday and then also every Wednesday. Check out What You've Been Playing Wednesday on our channel. And then follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, just Bridge City Board Gamers on all of them, and you'll find out what we've been doing lately.
And I've been Rob and
Anna Marie
from the Meeple Dungeon. You can find us on Twitter and Twitch. Yeah, YouTube, Twitch with Ryan. But and our brand new podcast on all your podcast platforms, and on Ryan's What You've Been Playing Wednesdays podcast as well. So we're all over the place.
You'll be able to find everyone once again down below in the video description. And don't forget to click that like button, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that YouTube will let you know when our next video is released. Also, if you're looking to pick up a new game, there's a link to multizone.ca, a great Canadian game store. Click that link, get 10% off your next purchase. And it's a great way to support the channel because a portion of that purchase is returned to us. They even do Kickstarters. So give them a call. Maybe they're doing Arydia. You can save on that shipping. Then you'll also find links to all of our social media feeds down there, so you can take a look at pictures of Kickstarters arriving, Kickstarters going. Also, if we get this up in audio format, you'll be able to find a link to the audio feed down there as well. And we'll all be coming back for He-Man. I think that's the next campaign that we're planning, and then that might be the last one for this year. I don't know. I haven't heard of anything coming after He-Man that's really piqued our interest as of yet.
No, it's been quiet.
Yeah, that's the next big one for sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be like Lords of Ragnarok.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah. So we've got that one. I think it'll be He-Man and Lords of Ragnarok, and then we'll have to see what's coming after that. And then popping up in front are going to be some links to previously released videos. You have a link to our most recent release, and of course, a link to our Kickstarter Excess or Value playlist where you can listen to all of the great stuff that we've talked about and the great games that you may or may not want to late pledge. One thing I'll say, maybe don't pledge Wild Ascent. And with that being said, don't forget everyone to keep playing games.